Back on his speech because I know he's always wanting feedback. We'll take a moment for that. The title of our next speech is Brilliant Light Power, the latest developments fall 2020. And I'm told that is an intro. Please join me in welcoming Howard Hinman.
Breakthrough energy is a long-time passion of mine, presiding officer, ladies and gentlemen from around the world. I've been interested in the field since about 2012. Eventually, I found one website that was most useful to me, and probably to you. E-Catworld, e-catworld.com is run by a gentleman by the name of Frank Ackland. It covers all the contenders in the field of breakthrough energy. In this talk, I shall focus on one contender in particular. This is both an expansion and an update and a revision of prior talks on the subject. Here are your Easter eggs, if you will, your previews of coming attraction. There are A and B. A, your next car or the one after that may be a steam car and not a battery one. And the one that ought to give you exuberance, energy is going to become far less expensive, far cleaner, and far more abundant in the next few years. Here are the four threads I'll put together that lead to this conclusion. First thread, the use of what are called hydrinos to produce superheated steam. Hydrinos are a registered trademark of brilliant light power, as are sun cell, where the hydrinos are produced and used to produce energy. The second thread is the use of superheated steam, high temperature steam to produce a modern 1920s automobile. The third thread is the use of superheated steam to produce a high-speed racing car, as in an Indianapolis 500 type of open-wheel racer. And the fourth thread is the safety aspects of superheated steam. I'll put these all together, leading to those conclusions. Hydrino, again, trademark of the company, is a trademark of the, or is a concept of the fellow behind it. His name is Dr. Randall Mills. He has an MD from Harvard about 1986. He also has an undergraduate degree from William and Mary, and he's also taken engineering courses at MIT. Available on the firm website at no charge to you is an 1,873-page book, heavily referenced, footnoted, annotated with diagrams. It would probably take a degree in chemistry or physics to understand it. I did look it over briefly to verify that it indeed had 1,873 pages of text and not blank pages. All there. The theory is this. There exists a lower ground state of the hydrogen atom from which one may extract energy called the hydrino, again, little hydrogen. Further, this is achieved through a chemical process that does occur in nature, can be replicated by human beings, and even interesting than that, dark matter in this universe is composed of these hydrinos. That is the theory in a nutshell. To get much more, go and read the 873-page book and enjoy it. If you will, Randy Mills and his team are both modern day Michael Faradays. Michael Faraday, from which you get the Farad, is the great English experimentalist of the early 19th century, specifically in electromagnetism. They are also, if you will, the James Clerk Maxwell, perhaps, of our time. As you may know, James Clerk Maxwell was the great Scottish man or gentleman who wrote between 1865 and 1871 Maxwell's equations, which are the basis for all radio wave propagation, electromagnetic waves in general. In other words, all radio, television, cell phone, and radar are understood, controlled, and dealt with by engineers and technicians using these equations. I know it's overused, however, it's possible that Randy Mills and his team are modern-day Nikola Teslas. Here are the specific achievements that they're claiming as we move through the late summer into the early fall of 2020. The first and most important one is that they've managed to convince, in the last 22 years, this firm and its predecessor companies have managed to get venture capitalists to invest approximately $100 million in them, which is pretty impressive. Further, they are claiming that they are achieving right now 10 times an over unit. In other words, you put 1 unit of energy in and you get 10 back through a chemical process. Normally, this takes a nuclear or a thermonuclear reaction. The specific claims also include superheated steam at the variable temperature 100 to 80 degrees centigrade. They can keep the process going for 100 hours, and currently they have running 5 separate sun cells in their premises on the website as a demonstration. This, and they specifically allow this, would allow use of a George Brayton cycle turbine. The Brayton cycle turbine is one of many types of turbines. It was used in at least of one of the George Selden patent cars about 1905. I may do several talks about the patent fights of the late 19th and early 20th century, including the doozy between the Wright brothers and Glenn Curtiss. This led directly to the death of Orville Wright in 1912. I believe it's from typhoid. That's in the first round. In other words, we have this claim that, wow, we can extract large amounts of energy from hydrogen through a chemical reaction. That's the end of the first thread. Second thread, the modern use of high temperature steam, superheated steam in automobiles. The Brayton cycle turbine, George Brayton in particular, is one of many types of turbines. That turbine was invented about 1886. Nikola Tesla even invented a bladeless turbine, to get back to Nikola Tesla. If there were more time and with even further expanded talk, I would talk about and cover the history going back to Hero Alexandra in the 1st century of the Common Era. Let me focus only on the pinnacle of the first incarnation of the steam car. There are a series of 60 steam cars built from about 1919 through the early 1930s by the Doble brothers under various company names. They kept the same serial. In other words, even though they switched from one company to another, it was number 20, it can be a number 21. Admiral Doble, who was the most talented of the Doble brothers, probably the most exuberant of the Doble brothers, even made, after production of these cars ended, made a steam-powered aircraft about 1935 in Oakland, California, and yes, it flew. The key thing, the 2 key factors that differentiate a Doble steam car from all other steam cars of that era is they use superheated steam and they have an electric starter. I will focus on one car in particular. It's number 20 in the series. It was owned and built for a man whose name you know, Howard Hughes. It's a roadster from about 1925. It's currently in the possession of another person you probably know of and have heard of, Jay Leno. Jay Leno has one of the largest automobile collections in private hands. This automobile, again a roadster, has 1,000 pound-feet of torque, the torque of a modern turbo diesel engine. Like electric cars, steam cars have lots of torque and both are quiet. This particular automobile has direct drive, no transmission. Even lacking modern high tensile steel, and no aerodynamics, no streamlining whatsoever, it will do 0 to 75 in about 10 seconds. Jay Leno does have a steam car in his vehicle collection, including a Stanley Steamer, and you can find YouTube videos of him with these various automobiles, including one of, I believe, 3 of the Chrysler turbine cars from the 1960s in private hands. That's in the second thread. In other words, it's possible to make a reasonable automobile using superheated steam. The third thread, high-speed superheated steam cars, as in an Indianapolis 500 race car. In the late 1960s through the 1970s and continue even to the day that we're in, there is a burgeoning environmental movement. The question was asked at this period of time, will there be internal combustion engines? That's called ICE. Will there be ICE transportation? GM said, can we take a modern body, actually a modern chassis using high tensile steel, a more streamlined body, and use a Doble Brothers drivetrain? The answer was yes, and GM made such a car about 1969. GM also even bought a license for the Wankel rotary, which Mazda is putting back into production as a range extender for its electric vehicles. Also, about this time in 1967, 1968, you have the STP turbine cars in Indianapolis. Was then called CART. It's now called IndyCar. It's owned by Roger Penske. The crown jewel is the Indianapolis 500. There are other series in that open wheel race series. There is, for instance, mid-April is usually a street race in Long Beach, and there's also a similar street race where they block off the streets in the Brisbane area, Surfers Paradise, Queensland, Australia. Along comes a man who said, I will make steam cars and I will publicize them by running them in the Indianapolis 500. William Bill Lear of Learjet fame, and he built a prototype. He actually made a steam car using, again, superheated steam that can go over 200 miles an hour and do it for 500 miles at a time with acceptable fuel and water use. It's now in a private automobile collection in the Chicago, Illinois area. You can find the YouTube videos by going to e-catworld.com. If you wish to travel faster, obtain a Bugatti Chiron, which will go 304 miles an hour on a test track after its tires have been carefully x-rayed for safety and been checked over by technicians. Indeed, the limiting factor on high-speed automobiles is actually the tires, keeping the tires together. Michelin made a special set of tires for this automobile, which will go 304 miles an hour. Safety. When I did the last version of the talk, the question was, what about safety? The answer is this. Any extraction of energy has risks. You might go to the wood pile to fetch wood and a rattlesnake bites you in an exuberant fashion. That is why you wear gloves, long sleeve shirts, long thick jeans, and boots. Again, the question, what about safety? The answer is this. With modern stainless steel construction using high tensile steel, proper welding techniques, and pressure relief valves, this is a minor issue. The Hartford Steam Boiler Inspection Insurance Company, now part of Munich Re, which is now a large European reinsurance company, led this progress. If you put all of the four threads together, the over unity hydrino of Randy Mills and Brilliant Light Power and superheated steam, the patents of the Doble brothers, primarily Abner Doble, that use superheated steam, the steam race car of Bill Lear that uses superheated steam, modern boiler construction and rigorous safety procedures to safely use super steam. Here's your three big takeaways. A, energy is going to become far less expensive, far cleaner, and far more abundant in the next few years. Your little takeaway, your next car or the one after that may be a steam car and not a battery one. And the third item, a toast. Ladies and gentlemen, presiding officer, a toast to the success of the team at Brilliant Light Power.
Thank you, Howard. Would everyone take a moment now and send a note through chat to Howard to give him some feedback on what you thought of his speech? Nick, you had me worried there for a bit.